Welcome back, everyone. It's here. And today I've got some r/BestOf for you all. As per usual, I'll be reading you the posts, giving you my opinions, and I hope you do the same down in the comments below. And without further ado, let's jump right into it. This post was collected by DirectCaterpillar77, and their tagline is, of course, Satan is not a pogo stick. Original OP is not that into, posted August 17th, 2017, to r/relationships. Dad sent me, 15 female, to boarding school at a young age. Now he's upset that I don't like to spend more time with his family during the summers, threatening not to send me back to my school this fall. I want to go back. Okay, so I've been attending boarding school since I was 10. I started the 5th grade at my boarding school. The reason why I started going so early is that my dad remarried. My mother killed herself when I was a baby. To my stepmom when I was 9. When she got pregnant with my brother, she insisted that I be sent to boarding school so that they could start afresh. I use quotes because I used to hear them talking about it when I still lived there. I actually heard the discussions they'd had at night about it when they thought I was sleeping. She said a lot of hurtful things then, about me potentially being like my mother and potentially being a bad influence on their future children. But I guess she convinced him because he gave in, and they sent me away. So I went to boarding school. They had my brother and then my sister, and I only see them in the summers and some holidays. In fact, a lot of holidays I spend with my friends' families, which my father has always signed off on. This especially confuses me considering his change of heart this summer. I mean, I've spent the last 4 Thanksgiving holidays in other people's houses without comment. At first, I was extremely depressed. I was really attached to my father as a kid, and it took me a long time to deal with being sent away. Especially when my siblings were born. I felt a lot of betrayal and resentment. But then, I grew to deal with it. What really helped, and still helps, is that I have a wonderful group of friends at school, and the adults there are really supportive there. My closest 2 friends have been there since I've been there. I feel like they're my family. Also, a lot of the kids I go to school with deal with what I'm dealing with in some form or the other, and this has given me a lot of perspective. Additionally, and I am really grateful for this and understanding that in a lot of ways I've been given an amazing opportunity and have nothing to complain about in this respect. I go to a really nice school. I love the grounds, I love my classes, I love the extracurriculars, I love my teachers, and I love my friends. The picture people paint of boarding school isn't the one that I experience. It's pretty easy for me to say that I prefer being at school 100 times more than I prefer being at my father and stepmom's home. When I'm in their home, I feel like an outsider. They do their thing and I do mine. It's especially awful though because I still get the sense that my stepmother doesn't want me around when I'm here. She barely acknowledges me, and I know she influences my brother and sister not to interact with me. I know because I took them to a theme park 2 weeks back and they told me this after a full day of having fun with each other. So, and as much as I appreciate that I get to have the experiences I do at school, I can't seem to distance myself from my distaste of my father and stepmom. So in order to avoid being disrespectful or coming off as rude, I just try to minimize the time I spend with them when I'm in their home for the summer. I don't have any friends here, so this means I go on hikes, go on runs, go to the movies, whatever I can to just be active or out and about without getting into trouble. Which brings me to the problem. My father kind of blindsided me yesterday. He sat down with me while I was eating breakfast, which never happens, before going on a hike, and he told me he's concerned that I haven't wanted to spend time with the family. I was confused because I haven't ever perceived this need from him, nor any space for it. He works all year round and all day. My stepmother is always ferrying my brother and sister to something or off with her friends. I just didn't even think that they wanted that. He then said that he wants to keep me here for my final 2 years of high school and enroll me in the nearby private school so that I can be with the family. And I just panicked. I get stellar grades and I'm doing well at school. Every report he's gotten has been good. I expressed this to him. But I was so distraught at the idea of not going back that he insisted my distress was an indication of how unattached from the family I was. I know I could have handled it better, but I blew up at him after he said this. I told him he was the reason I wasn't attached to family, and that removing me from school would only remove me from the one place I had any real family. This really made him angry, and he left, saying he was resolved to remove me. I don't know what to do. How could I convince him to let me go back? I feel like I'm a kid again. It's the same feeling all over again, and I'm so angry. Relevant comments. Hi, genius. I suspect that once your stepmother learns what your father has said, that she will convince him to change his mind. User I thought so 98 responds, the stepmother might actually be a good last resort strategy here. If you try the letter writing or having a friend's parent / a teacher talk to your father and he doesn't change his mind, then you've got nothing to lose in trying to enlist your stepmother to convince him. For her own selfish reasons, it sounds like she would agree you should go back to this school, and she's probably the person most likely to influence your father. OP responds, oh god, I really hope so. SPDTLA comments, you need to be honest with him. He'll be shocked and deny it, but if you're honest, he'll understand. You need to tell him you heard when you were 10 the reason you were shipped to boarding school is so that his family could start afresh. At the time you resented it, being displaced, but you found what you were missing at home. Acceptance. You are now thriving at school with friends who willingly and wanting have you over for Thanksgiving. You don't feel the same at his house. You feel like an intruder, not a member of the family. Even your brother and sister admitted that your stepmother instructed them to treat you this way. Then you drop the truth bombshell. You will always resent him for picking his new family over you. But you will resent him even more if he displaces you from the only place where you felt welcome. This conversation will not be easy, so feel free to write it as a letter instead. You're 15. You don't get to call the shots, but you're old enough to demand your opinions be heard. Your father is an absentee parent. He needs to learn the truth. OP responds, I really like the idea of writing a letter. I'm going to clear my head and get started on writing it, so I can deliver it to him as soon as possible. I really appreciate this feedback. Thanks. When asked if the reason the father wants OP closer at home at a local school is for financial reasons, OP responds, I'm not sure. It doesn't appear as if there are money problems. I know that my tuition is very expensive, but based off of the family's lifestyle, it seems like nothing. I don't know if I'm being naive with this assumption though. I don't want to be too detailed for the sake of anonymity, but I know he works in a field and for a company that makes what a lot of people consider problematic amounts of money. I don't know if anything has changed for him. It's just never a thing he's discussed with me, and I've never asked him about his money. Update 1. Posted same day on the same post. Update. I've been silent since the first few responses because I wanted to process all the suggestions coming my way. First, thank you so much for your concerns and kindness. It really helped me sit down and think more calmly about this situation. Second, I decided to write an email to my father, in which I apologized for my outburst, expressed my understanding that we should develop a better relationship, and my want for one as well. I don't know if I really want this, to be honest, but based on feedback, it seemed smart to include this. And my belief that pulling me out of my school would not result in that goal. I offered alternatives, like FaceTiming regularly and more consistent visits during holidays, like Thanksgiving. I also suggested that maybe we should do something together during this holiday, so that we could talk and catch up. We used to hike a lot together when I was a kid, and I suggested that we go on one together, like this weekend. I also explained that I feel I've been a responsible and productive student at the boarding school, pointing out that I head the diversity club, have provided peer tutoring each year since 8th grade, and have maintained a good GPA, and that disrupting my schooling might be counterproductive. I explained that my outburst was due to these details, rather than my not wanting to be closer than him. I closed out, saying I know he wants what's best for me. I hope this is true, and I'll choose to believe it, and I want to work with him to make that happen. So now, I'm waiting for his reply. I'm pretty anxious because I honestly don't know how he'll reply. I'm taking advice given to me here though, and trying to make plans in my mind for any response. I haven't told any of my friends yet because I know they'll tell their parents, who may contact him, and I can't be sure how he'll react to that. If he refuses after my email, maybe I'll try to have an adult intervene. I'm still thinking it through. Anyway, thank you guys again. It's nice to know there are nice people all over. Update 2. Posted the same day on the same post. Update 2. He responded, quote, OP, when we spoke, I told you I had made my decision. That stance has not changed, and I am disappointed that you have chosen to ignore my words. Do not forget that you are still a child under my care, despite what you may feel. One day you will see the wisdom in this and be thankful. I am currently out on business and will be back on Saturday. Until I return and am able to speak in person, I do not want to hear or read another word about this issue. I want to contact my headmaster and dorm parent. I have good relationships with them, but now I really feel if they contact him, that will be the end of it. I think I fucked this up. I shouldn't have sent that email. I should have waited. I don't know. My friend's parents are all pretty influential / well-known in my dad and stepmom's social circle, and I'm worried it will humiliate my dad / stepmom if they find out about this issue or try to intervene. I feel so paralyzed. Update 3, posted the next day, August 18th, 2017. I'm going back to school! A lot has happened in a short period of time. I don't think I dealt with my father's email in the smartest way, but it worked. Advice telling me to speak to my stepmom really stuck with me. I felt so desperate that I spoke to my stepmom about the situation. It became very obvious, very quickly, that she had no clue that my father had wanted this. She immediately left the room after I explained the situation. I could hear arguing with him, saying it was a deal breaker, and that she wouldn't have it. He called me soon after she hung up and sounded so very angry. He said it was clear I had made up my mind and didn't want to be part of the family. Actually, it was you that made that clear. He said that he wanted time to let my stepmother know, and wishes I had trusted him. I didn't even know how to start explaining why I feel his view of my feelings are so wrong before he told me that since I didn't even want to try working with him, he's sending me back. He ended the call saying, I hope you can deal with the consequences of your choices. Ditto. I'm angry at him because I feel like so much of this is miscommunication on his part, but I'm happy, more than anything, because I get to go back. Thank God. I'm going to lay low, be as nice to everyone as possible, and try to ride this out until school starts, which is soon. I am so relieved. Final comments from Pomgo. Update 3 is fucking glorious. He throws you away like garbage, tries to tear you away from your friends you made as a coping mechanism after his abandonment. Then, when you suggest a reasonable compromise to meet his need for affection without hurting you, he tells you that your feelings don't matter. And he has the gall to act like you should have kept his secret from his wife. Out of what loyalty? Why would he think you'd have any reason to help him destroy everything happy in your life? What a self-absorbed fucking moron. I hope you email him this comment of mine and some choice others from this thread. Don't actually. That asshole needs a slap in the face with some perspective. I'm a grown-ass adult and I don't see how on earth you'd thank him later for what he tried to do. Deleted user comments. Just saw update 3, congrats, I'm glad this worked out. The things you know need to be shared someday though. The asshole needs to know that you know he's full of shit. Maybe wait until he doesn't have any control of your life though. Just as some eyes opinion here, I think the consequences of your choices comment that he made is honestly just him projecting. And he realized just a bit too late that he officially fucked up his relationship with his first daughter by pretty much just being so subservient to the stepmother. Like, he allowed her to worm her way in and just destroy what family he previously had, and just doesn't really seem to see a problem with it. It's kind of fucked up the stepmom ended up being the hero here despite her being just such a villain. That's a twist we don't get every day. But it makes sense. The boarding school was her idea. Father realized the consequences of his actions and wanted to bring his daughter home and rekindle that relationship before it was too late, only to find out that she was happier, as far away from him as possible. And the stepmom still wanted the daughter as far away from her as possible to build a new life. There's a comment in the best of thread that actually I think brings a really interesting opinion here. Sneaky's2 comments, I wonder who he was getting pressure from to keep the OP home. Clearly wasn't his deep paternal love for her. She should be 23 now. I hope she never speaks to him again and is off living the best life. Random Nick42 comments, I'm thinking image issues. Someone in Dad's circle learned of OP's existence and was surprised. But then, Dad decided that a divorce would be a bigger hit to his reputation, especially if OP turned belligerent. I really do hope that the moment that OP graduated from boarding school and moved on to their own life, they sent their father a nice long email about everything they knew and capped it off with a lovely ending of, I hope one day you can deal with the consequences of your choices. Definitely way too storybook for it to potentially be reality, but hey, a twink can dream, am I right? This post was collected by Direct Caterpillar 77, and their tagline is, of course, Satan is not a pogo stick. Original OP is Middle Might, posted to r/legal advice March 5th, 2018. Is it illegal to pretend to offer someone a job in the hopes to make them unemployed? This all happened a week ago, and I have found other employment, so that answers the question everyone is going to ask. Guy who used to work with us a few years ago left on very good terms. He got his MBA and went on to another company at a salary requisite to his skill level. Today, he comes back for an interview at the company for an AVP position that is a small step up for him. Everything went well in the interview, and everyone was on board. Problem is, the EVP said he's not going to give him the position. He's going to lead him on and make him think he has a job until he hands in his 2 weeks at his current position. Then, my EVP is going to just pull the job offer with some bullshit excuse. When I asked him why he would do this, he said the most important lesson I can learn in life is loyalty. Stay loyal or never come back. Yeah, I went ahead and warned the guy about it and told him not to put in his 2 weeks notice. He wants to go ahead and go along with the whole charade just to see how far the EVP will go. My question is this in any way illegal? I know that a company can pull the rug out from under you in a million completely legal ways, but if there is proof that it was malicious, what can be done? Thinking about going to HR with this, then a lawyer if they don't do anything about it. Either way, I will never work at a company he works at again. Relevant comments. King Kid. Does this EVP have a boss? This is right for promissory estoppel/detrimental reliance. With an affidavit and testimony from you, the candidate has a case if he puts in his notice and loses his job. Fuck that guy with a rusty railroad spike. What an absolute ass. If you have an independent HR team, a compliance hotline, or a general counsel, now might be the time. Dalkir82 comments in response, also, anyone who's so focused on loyalty that they're willing to pull this is almost certainly going to regard you warning the guy as disloyalty. And he'll definitely regard you testifying/going to HR/notifying general counsel as disloyalty. And he's obviously dumb enough to ignore minor issues like legality. So be prepared for retaliation. Cover your ass, document everything, and be prepared to give him another rusty railroad spike after he fires you for snitching. OP responds, I already have a new job, as does half of the staff under him. King Kid. Just for clarification, there is no legal case until someone suffers actual financial damages. Going along with it to expose the practice isn't necessarily enough, unless the candidate genuinely loses current job and didn't know about the fraud in advance. However, litigation is always expensive for companies, and the senior executive management team may want to address this practice. Just from a risk management/mitigation perspective, given you have a new job and you might not care. Update. D-bag boss wanted to screw over a former employee with a fake job offer. March 6th, 2018, the next day. Went to HR this morning and played the audio from the phone call. I also pulled the emails between me and the EVP and handed them over to HR. The chief personnel officer pulled me into his office and made me play everything for him. I told him the full story of everything about the former employee and the EVP's attitude. To make him completely understand that I would not let this get buried, I told him that the former employee knows the whole thing, said that I plan to leave at the end of the week if the EVP situation does not get handled. Did not tell him about the new job. The CPO thanked me for my honesty, which, by the way, was a major red flag for me, and said he would be contacting the COO immediately. At lunch, I was pulled into a meeting with a junior HR person to talk about my performance review. We do not have performance reviews. It went badly. I was given 5 minutes to pack up my things at my desk and leave. I had an email typed up on my phone and sent it to the CEO, detailing everything. I had typed it up as things happened and pretty much knew I would be cut today. Luckily, my axes had not been cut yet as I received the CC to my personal email back almost immediately. It received a one-sentence response of, "Thank you for bringing this to my attention." So, all in all, I'm pretty sure they will not do anything. They just do not realize how many people are leaving with no notice Friday. A large number of people know. And this is one of the reasons why you should never be loyal to a company, because they can pretty much just decide at a moment's notice to fuck you over for whatever reason they feel like. despite the fact that that employee, while he did leave after getting his MBA, chose to return. And what'd he get in return for it? A dog and pony show, but the only thing present was Uncle Lester. OP did the right thing at every step of the way. He can't control what the company decides to do because there's very clearly some kind of toxic workplace bro culture going on at that establishment. Which, can't really do much about that except wait for them to one day crash and burn, which is kind of almost inevitable. Especially when half the staff under the problematic EVP is just suddenly going to no longer really be present anymore because of this kind of bullshit behavior. Unfortunately, in most workplace environments, a company has everything to gain from employees who are loyal, while you won't gain much except for maybe a $100 gift certificate on your birthday. And I hate while that's half joking, that's unfortunately very true for a lot of people. This post was collected by Direct Caterpillar 77, and their tagline is, of course, Satan is not a pogo stick. The original OP is Xpile Proofrock, posted June 11th, 2015, to r/relationships. My girlfriend, 33, of 7 months, wants to quit her job because I, male 31, won a significant amount of money in the lottery. My girlfriend and I have had a pretty tumultuous relationship, which has seen us broken up twice already. I've been the initiator of the split both times, always because of her extreme, unrelenting clinginess and lack of trust. We don't live with each other, obviously. Why we're still together is a bit of a mystery to me. I love her, for sure, and we can get along well together. But we also have very different ideas of what constitutes an acceptable amount of personal space and privacy. When I try to tell her that she is smothering me, she basically shrugs and says she isn't changing. The past 2 months we've had a slight shelter from our usual storms, and it hasn't been as bad. She's still very clingy and constantly accuses me of chatting and meeting other girls. I haven't. Keeps close tabs on what I'm doing or who I'm hanging out with, etc., etc. But I keep at it because I believe I'd be alone for a long time without her, and am frankly afraid of that. It doesn't help that she's also told me much the same, that I would be alone without her. Cut to a few weeks ago. I won a lot of money in the lottery, paid in lump sum. It's all very new to me, and very, very surreal. And I haven't really done much with it all yet, but talked to some financial advisors to figure it all out, but it's readily acknowledged I am in a position to retire. The only 2 things I have done so far is take a month off from work to sort things and get very drunk on expensive scotch with my sister. I have a lot of friends right now. I know who my friends are and plan on doing nice things for them all. However, my girlfriend is now asking me if she can quit her job. When I asked her why she would, she said because I have money. That if she had won that much money, she'd have given me X amount of money without a thought because that's what people do for those they love. Anyways, it didn't take long for her to start accusing me of wanting to ditch her now that I'm rich and how she was so stupid not to have seen it before. All because I don't want to give her a shitload of money. I'm in an awkward position now. What am I to do? I'm not a stingy or shallow person, but this relationship was rocky before all of this. I'm afraid of looking shallow, I guess, even though I believe I'm being practical. And while I'm not necessarily clamoring for us to split right now, I feel like this will be an issue as long as we're together. Sorry for rambling, hope that makes sense. Too long didn't read, won the lottery, girlfriend wants to quit her job and buy a place together. We were very rocky before, but cutting now also seems shallow. Relevant comments. Jess Tall. It's been 7 months and you've broken up twice already. Dump and run. OP responds. The argument is I think she's overly smothering and she thinks I'm afraid of intimacy. So sometimes I second guess my rationale. But she is certainly very keen on knowing everything I do. Like, if she sees I'm online and it's not writing a lovely email to her, it's an argument all night. I realize it sounds cut and dry, but she does have her good qualities. Mr. Linderman comments, You've yet to mention any. Reread what you've wrote and ask yourself, based on only what was written, what your advice to a different person who wrote that would be. Peace Symmetry comments, Nope. You have all this windfall and suddenly she thinks she's on easy street and never has to work again? Fuck that. You have much bigger fish to fry than your dating life. You need to talk to a financial consultant and find a way to make this money last so that you don't end up yet another cautionary tale. You need to learn to be appropriately selfish in a big way, and most likely, you're going to have to end your relationships with a lot of people. Otherwise, you're going to be expected to pay for pretty much everything and shamed when you don't. Don't fuck around with this. It could be the greatest or worst thing that has ever happened to you. Opie responds, "You hit the nail on the head. I do feel ashamed of thinking selfishly, and I think I worry about being perceived as such. It's amazing how much some people have opened up to me the past weeks." Jen Zera comments, "She's your girlfriend, not your fiancé or your wife. She has no right to quit her job and rely on you to support her. She's fully taking advantage of the situation, and is probably attempting to make you feel guilty by pulling the, 'if you break up with me, it's because you're rich now.' Who cares if you look shallow? She shouldn't assume that just because you happen to win a large amount of money that she's entitled to any life-altering benefits from it. I would sit her down and explain why exactly you are breaking up with her, and explain why it has nothing to do with the newfound fortune. If she still accuses you of it being because of the money, you'll know she's just trying to emotionally manipulate you." Opie responds, quote, "She's your girlfriend, not your fiancé or your wife. She has no right to quit her job and rely on you to support her. She's fully taking advantage of the situation and is probably attempting to make you feel guilty by pulling that if you break up with me, it's because you're rich now." Extremely well said. Quote, "Who cares if you look shallow?" End quote. This seems to be my problem. She just texted me a while ago saying she accepted my quirks before I won the money, and few ever did so before. I've only had 2 relationships. So to ditch her now proves money will change me. I feel guilty. I know I bring this up almost every time, but fun fact, that was actually without any kind of filters or audio altering. That was all done in one take. Gloopy Sloop comments, quote, "Saying she accepted my quirks before I won the money, and few ever did so before. I've only ever had 2 relationships, so to ditch her now proves money will change me." End quote. This so reminds me of when I finally told my abusive ex-wife I was leaving, and she said, "I'm the only person who would put up with your bullshit." Quote, "I feel guilty," end quote. Which I am sure is her intention. This is manipulative as hell. If you didn't think you had a reason to leave before, you do now. Edit. Thank you all for taking the time to respond. I think I'm taking my anxiety with the whole situation in general and applying it to a relationship that was on wobbly legs already. I'm afraid of having to make tough, selfish decisions with a lot of out-of-the-woodwork people, but this is clearly a no-brainer. The decision was essentially made before my win even. Thanks again for your input and advice. Update, July 7th, 2015, 18 days later. A few people have messaged me asking for an update on this situation. In a word, nightmare. Suffice to say, she was not happy when I told her that she needs to forget about the money for now, and that we had serious problems in our relationship from before the win that we kept sweeping aside, and all this has done is force us to have a conversation we needed to have anyways. It got heated pretty quickly, and I felt like we kept disagreeing into petty arguments about old stuff instead of sticking to the main issue. She suddenly took to calling me manipulative and emotionally abusive, which took me completely off guard and had me scrambling to defend myself before it occurred to me that she was just trying to make me feel guilty again. After probably 4 or 5 hours of getting nowhere, I finally said that we're breaking up, and there's nothing more to it. She got up from the couch, got her stuff, told me to go to fucking hell, and slammed the door. Next day, the texts and emails started to come in, saying that no one will love me like she did. How it's sad to see how money has changed me so quickly. Hoping I have fun banging superficial escorts on and on and on. I ignore the messages. The next day, she calls, and I ignore the call. And she goes to voicemail and says she's crying and says she needs my help and has no one else to turn to, and to please call her. I don't call her back. Thursday night, around 11:30 p.m., the police are knocking at my door. Apparently, a neighbor called in a loud domestic dispute from my apartment. I tell him I've been alone all night. He asks to take a look around, and I say sure. He says the neighbor who called is not answering their door, nor their phone, and asks if I recognize the last 4 digits of a number, which I don't. So he asks if I know any reason why someone would call the police making such a claim. I tell him I did recently break up with my girlfriend on the weekend, and we did yell, so either someone took their time to call, or my ex is not taking things well. We both agree it is strange. I decide not to ask her about it. Over the weekend, I get a few emails/texts and calls from her that start off sweet/nostalgic, and end up angry and accusing me of throwing her to the side and being heartless, among other things. From the voicemails, I can tell she's drunk. I can't resist, so I ask her by email if she knew anything about the prank call to the police, which of course she denies and then spins it back on me. Do I really think her so petty? Why would I ever think that? It just proves I never trusted her. Back to arguing, so I don't reply. So yesterday, I log on to Facebook for the first time in a while, and I notice over the past few days, she's been adding my friends as friends. Nothing else, but it freaks me out. I send her a message asking why she's adding my friends, and she essentially says it's a free country, and that she couldn't have been so bad if my friends liked her too. I'll just say, I'm wary, and I'm depressed and lonely, and I have a feeling this is going to be a pain in the ass. Objectively, I know this was a good move, but subjectively, it's a whole other matter. Look forward to the normal times. Sorry again for the rant. Final comments. Remember Coombe Valley. Quote, no one will love me like she did, end quote. Here's hoping, right? You should message your friends, though, and say that your ex is sending the cops to your house and such, so they should watch out if she friends them out of nowhere. Opie responds, I've locked my Facebook privacy setting down and emailed some friends. My closest friends and family are well in the know already, of course. Count Pudula. Cut all ties, burn the bridges, block numbers, block on Facebook, document the harassment. Opie responds, didn't think I'd need to block her number, but you're likely right. Deleted user responds, nah, you need to. Every single option for communication with you is an open door to her. She's gonna try them all one by one until she finds an open one. She's like a raptor, systematically checking the electric fence for weaknesses so she knows where to attack. Here's what I'm saying. So do the right thing and turn the entire fence on so she can't get in, no matter what. Final edit. I thank you all for the time, replies, support, and even a few laughs. I feel much better going forward. So, minus her behavior after the lump sum of money appeared, the fact that she was a girlfriend of 7 months and was already looking to quit her job just kind of says everything. Like, if you ever find yourself in a position where you win the lottery or find yourself in a life-changing position, keep that shit to yourself. Don't tell anyone. The lottery tends to only bring misery and unhappiness, and the people who feel the most entitled to your time and money come out of the woodwork like roaches. The girlfriend's probably losing her mind with how she's acting is because she realized, like, oh fuck, I blundered this. My entire future of potentially being able to, like, not have to do anything just got thrown away. Like, she was a girlfriend of 7 months. They had already broken up twice and gotten back together. Like, that was already a rocky relationship, and her quitting her job and relying off of her boyfriend who just won the lottery's earnings, that feels incredibly gross. It doesn't matter if it's a girlfriend or a boyfriend or what. Like, a fiancé or spouse? Most certainly. Partner of maybe 2, 3, 4 years? Yeah, definitely. But 7 months? No, that is just, they're jumping the gun big time, and they're also showing their true colors just immediately. I don't know. What do you think of this situation? How would you feel being on either side of the equation here? Don't forget, this is brought to you by GamerSupps. Use code OZ at checkout. It's basically a caffeine powder that you put in your water, and I actually really like it. I use this on a daily basis. Don't forget that every purchase you make using code OZ directly supports the channel. And if you want a personal recommendation from me, I would either recommend the Soda Pressing Pear or Dragon Fruit Punch. Those two are currently my favorite flavors. And as a note, once we sell a certain amount of stuff, I get my own flavor and my own cup. And you all know I'm gonna choose some degenerate shit that's gonna make their PR team squirm. My goal is to make them regret partnering with me. So please, use code OZ at checkout to make my dream come true of making a PR team squirm.